Hello everyone and welcome to this playthrough for Pro and Expert Division in the Voyager Tournament. The video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic, so let's go! So, before I take my first shot, check down in the video description down below and you will get direct timestamps for all the holes in this playthrough. That will help you getting to watch the holes that you actually are looking for to watch, so you don't have to watch the whole playthrough if you don't want to. Check out patreon.com/golf/tommy for text guides and also training sessions. So our opponent here gets into the rough. He tries to go on the left side. I don't blame him because the wind is favorable in that way. We're going to go the same way here, and the reason for that is that I do want to show an aggressive line when it comes to this hole, because in tournaments it's often that you do take an aggressive route. But take a look at the screen here for just a second. You can see where I have in my landing position right now. There is the place where I would like to play if I would be having any type of headwind or just very a tough crosswind with a lower level driver. So now when we do have the Apocalypse level 7, I would suggest to play this way with an Apocalypse level 5 and 6 as well, with some slight tailwind here. We do want to bounce our ball over the water here and get over it. The reason we do want to play this side again is because we do have a very much easier second shot, and with the Thorn and or the Goliath or another long iron is going to be definitely a good opportunity for us. The drive here on this particular hole is affected more by the wind, so add 10% to your adjustment, so you're going to be spot on with your rings. So you can see here our opponent, even though he went into the rough, he will still be able to reach for the green easily. With headwind it would have been maybe some sort of a minor trouble, but with crosswind and also tailwind will not be any type of trouble to get to the green in two. So I highly suggest that if we do get some type of favorable wind, then I would definitely be focused about going on left side, putting myself in a very good position. So our turn here now. And now we're going to play with the Goliath, and you can see here on the screen that I can either play with the Thorn before the rough, or I can play with the Goliath after the rough. So it's basically Goliath in minimum distance, or a minimum distance plus a little bit more, and then or the Thorn in max distance. So the thing that we're going to do here now that we do forget here is that we do forget to move our ball guideline. So we should be, in this case, be one square to the left side of the pin. The reason for that is that the ball is going to be pushed by hitting the ground with the bounce. So in this particular scenario we do adjust 4.8 4.9 rings, so we do adjust a little bit more than normal than being a minimum distance. The reason for that again is because we are not adjusting with the ball guideline position for the push that we're going to get for the bounce. So hole number 2, and hole number 2 is going to be an eagle hole in my opinion. You can see here on the screen directly 7.8 crosswind. We do play with a Thor's Hammer level 5, and the Thor's Hammer level 5 is the club that I suggest that you do play with if you're not having an Apocalypse that is in level 6 or 7. The reason for that is the backspin. You can see here that we do want to bounce over the rough and the bunker, and with an Apocalypse level 5 for an example, or an extra mile level 7, level 8, you will only have like 2 to 4.5 bar of backspin, and with a Thor's Hammer you can have even more. So we need to prevent that, because before we know the win for the tournament, we need to at least put the best club for every type of situation in our bag. So with tailwind, then we need to go with at least like 5-6 of bars of backspin, maybe even more. If we would be having crosswind, then we will go with like 4-5 as a general, and then we with headwind, then we're just trying to go over the bunker there, try to bounce ourselves over, so we do find ourselves in a way where we can have an easy wedge or putt for the pin. So that is the thing we're looking for. We're not looking for to make a hole-in-one this one, even though it's possible, but we're looking for to get this one close to the green and have an easy wedge. If we do have some tailwind, we could try to rough bump it, but I don't want to suggest that, because then we need to most likely overpower our shot. So, the last but not least, I will have to say that the drive is going to be affected 20% more than normal. So have that in mind when you play hole number 2. Excuse me. So as you see here, we do find ourselves very close to the green, and this wedge is a wedge with a very low ball guideline, which is going to be giving us an easy way here to make this eagle that we are looking for. So my opinion for Pro and Expert Division, the eagle here is going to be very much a must in my opinion. So our opponent has the same way. He has a wedge here as well. He played with a win 5 ball, which has no extra power, and then of course you need to overpower even more. So we will have to find that balance where you kind of, it's with overpower and spin. Of course, if we can stay away from overpower, that is the absolute best thing. But we will have to see for the wind in the tournament really how to 100% nail that one down. So for hole number 3, you're going to see 2 type of examples. The examples will be similar but not like lookalikes, because we're going to play before the bunkers, but we're going to play from 2 different spots on the fairway. Why do I do that then? The reason for that is that I want to show 2 examples here, and I do believe those 2 examples is kind of the best way in my opinion to get this hole in one, or at least getting that close to the pin. There is players that is going to play directly up to the green, but in a playthrough and a guide like this, I want to at least take every type of wind situation into account, and I do believe like going directly to green in, for example, headwind with the Guardian or with the Sniper is going to cause more trouble than it's going to help. So now we do have the Goliath here. We play in maximum distance. We do want to add 10% to our adjustment as well. We do go with 1.5 bar of backspin to the side, combined with half a bar of backspin. Sorry, half a bar of side spin to the left and half a bar of backspin. As you can see here, with the rings here, we're going to first go with 5, and then we're going to add a little bit more. So we're going to add and play it like 6.3, 6.4 rings, which is over adjusted. But we do want to over adjust due to the ball being affected more by the wind. We hit where we want to, but we do get too much of a push for the tailwind, and we needed to in that case go with a little bit more backspin and also go with a little bit more side spin to the left, or maybe some slight curl to the left as well to get that one even closer towards the pin. But in the end, we do get a very easy birdie, and again, that is ground wise something that we would like to have. So our opponent here is going to play with a dead ball now. We are not going to play with a dead ball. I do highly suggest that you play with either a power 3 ball, or you actually go down and you actually play with a power 0, power 1 ball, but with wind resistance at least 4 or 5 to reduce that wind, to help you being close, because the par 3s is definitely going to be very, very important to just reduce the wind as much as possible to get that easier shot for the hole in one. Because the par 3s has like coming, what can I say, the par 3s has been for the later tournaments been very important. Like an hole in one, it's going to be good for a tiebreaker, and also that it's definitely one extra shot that we in the beginning of the tournament stages thought like, oh my god, let's make a hole in one in a tournament. That is very rare. So our second opportunity here, or second try, is going to be before the bank. 1.5 bar of topspin, 1 side spin to the right. We're going to play it a little bit lower on the fairway, but we do have a more flat surface. So this is most likely the way that I'm going to play it. And 9.3, we add 10% extra from the distance that we are on our club, and we're going to eventually get this one, as you can see, we're going to drag it down, use the take shot button as adjustment tool, and play this one 5 rings. So 5 rings is going to be with 10% extra. We do hit it perfect with some slight curl to the right, and now we do get pushed up to the right, and we're going to fall down in very nicely. So what could we do here to be even closer? We could play without the curl. We could also play without like the side spin to the right as well to be even closer. But in the end, very happy with that shot, and that will definitely be a contender for making the hole in one and also getting that easy birdie that we are looking for. Hole number 4, another hole here that you can find on Tour 11. This is one of the city parks. So now I'm going to play with max side spin right combined with 3 bars of top spin. So we're going to want to play there in the center, and we're going to add 10% to our adjustment. Okay, you see I have Apocalypse level 7. You don't have to have an Apocalypse level 7. You can play with an extra mile, you can play with a Thor's Hammer, you can play with a lower level Apocalypse. So don't steer yourself blind on me having Apocalypse for this shot. 7.8 rings is the one we're going to play. So we do add more to our adjustment. Slight amount of curl to the right. And with the top spin and the side spin and the curl, we're going to put ourselves very, very nicely on the green. You might wonder why, Tommy, aren't you using more top spin in that particular with that particular shot? The reason for that is that we do not want to come in too hot and fall down into the rough there on the top, as you can see by the water. So we do want to find ourselves exactly in this position that we are now. Then we're going to have a short iron for the pin, and you all know with the short iron we do have an excellent opportunity. Something that I want to add when it comes to the drive is that if you do find yourself with a struggling crosswind or with a struggling headwind, then you can play up short. And with short I mean even shorter than the landing position as our opponent is showing now. So I would play before the bunker on the right, use the slopes there, or that bowl-like situation that we do have on the fairway, to just let the ball rest there, and then we're going to have a wood club towards the pin, and then for the rough bump there we just go with a sniper or with the guardian, do a rough bump with a couple of bars backspin, and then we're going definitely to be close to making that eagle from distance. Our opponent did go with too much curl, so I will have to mention that as well. Don't over curl it. You do have some side spins to play with, so don't overplay this the drive. It is a tough drive, but absolutely possible to make there on the fairway. Now you will see me over adjusting my second shot. And as you can see, we are playing with a thorn. We do have an excellent opportunity. So we first and foremost, you can see me playing this one with 6 rings, which is definitely over adjusted. We should be playing with this one maybe like 5 tops. So in this particular situation, we're going to hit the grate as well, and then we're going to of course fall to the right side of the pin. So but in the end, it doesn't really matter if we drop this one or not, but it's a very good opportunity for us to make an eagle from distance. That is definitely something that we're going to go for in the tournament. So let's hope for some decent win for our drive, so we don't have to play up short. But I wanted to cover that with the drive as well. If we're going to have to go short, then it's very important to know what to do if that. Because I actually remember myself playing in Master when we had headwind for the drive, and we couldn't reach over, even though we had a power 4 ball, like a dead ball or a royal ball combined with like high level Apocalypse. We couldn't reach over anyway, so we struggled all big time until just played it safe and then go for the rough bump from distance, because that takes away the trees from being in play. So this was hole number 4, and we're going to go to hole number 5, a par 5 that of course is going to be tough. And all the par 5s is tough in their own way, but this par 5 is kind of like I would have to say, you will have to decide what type of shot you want to be a little bit easier. So either you want to play a drive that is tough, but you will have a much easier second shot, or you play a much easier drive, but for your second shot you're going to have struggle if you are not having some type of tailwind. So for me it's going to be right side, but I want to explain that about the left side as well, because it is possible to play that side, but it is going to be tougher. So our opponent here is going to change ball first and foremost, which is important. You do not play with a berserker ball here. So he plays with a kingmaker, a max side spin combined with only 1 bar of top spin. So not even 1 bar of top spin. And I will have to say here you will have to play with at least 2 bars of top spin, otherwise you will just cut the rough, which is going to be which is not going to be the thing that you do want. So our opponent here hits it perfect with that curl as well, which looks okay, but as you can say, with the top spin there, do not reach over the rough, which is going to be very, very tough for him to reach now for the green in 2. So it's going to be something that we will have to think about. So Kingmaker here for us, as much side spin to the right as possible. And have in mind, even though I do have an Apocalypse of 7, you can play this shot with other drivers as well. Something that we need to have in mind is that we do adjust this 5% extra than normal. Max side spin, 2.5 bar of top spin, and then we're going to adjust this one for 8 rings. Sorry, it's 9 rings, of course, and then we're going to go with around 80% of curl outside to the right. And that is just because instead of like having to curl more, so we're just using the wind that we're going to have, so we get that perfect angle to bounce down there. From this position, we're not going to have any type of problem to reach for the green in 2. Something that I do highly suggest that you do is to pick a wood club with some more power than a max upgraded sniper. The max upgraded sniper do have 172 yards, and for like maybe on a big dog or a cataclysm or a maxed upgrade guardian, you do have 179 or 180 yards, and those yards makes a big difference in my opinion. So from this particular situation now, when he goes short, has a wood club that do not give him that much of a distance, then of course he needs to overpower the shot here. We on the other hand is going to play with the sniper as well, and from that position that we are in, that is going to be no problem for us to reach for the green in 2. This is an excellent shot, having to overpower, and of course if you have to overpower your approach shot to the pin, then you will be needed to have in mind that you shouldn't be focused to get that albatross, just focus to get it green to make that eagle. So we do have 10.3. We are in max distance of our club. There is two things that I do like to change for this approach. You're going to see it now. You might be able to figure that one out. First and foremost, we are going to play uphill. So, which means that we're going to have to take away in our adjustment. We're going to play this one 10 rings, which is with uphill is going to be over adjusted. We also drop down into the bunker, which makes us play with a lower trajectory, which also in that case mean that we're going to lose even more distance. So it's so that is the reason why we go short and also go too much to the right side. So ladies and gentlemen, this was hole number 5, and hole number 5 again is a tricky par 5, but it's absolutely possible to make an albatross for it, but we will have to work big time. Drive, crucial, make it stay on the fairway, and then we're going to have a decent opportunity for the second shot. So okay, now hole number 6, and hole number 6 is going to be a tough one no matter what type of wind we have. I would prefer headwind here instead of tailwind, because with tailwind it's going to be what will I say, it's going to be very tough for us to like prevent for the bounce that we're going to have, or at least estimate the bounce for where it's going to get the second bounce. So like the first bounce is going to be where we aim, but like look at this ball, is going to get that extended ball guideline, which in many of the cases get us to be too long. And if we get too long, then we're going to have a long putt, and that is going to be very, very dangerous, because then we need to overpower and also kind of relying on us to hit it perfect. Otherwise we're going to have a trouble here. We are going to play here in this example with a dead ball. I don't suggest that you should be playing with a dead ball. I do suggest you play with a power 3 ball, or you play with a wind 5 ball to reduce the wind as much as possible. 5.5 bars of backspin here. Normal is 5 bars, but 5.5 bar because we have this strong tailwind. The tip of the ball guideline being just after the fringe, because we need to adjust for the extended ball guideline, so for the first bounce. So have that in mind when you do play. So, and from this example, we're not going to play with any type of curl. We're just going to hit it perfect and let the ball do the job. And the wind, of course, as well. We could have gone with a little bit of curl to the right. As you see, we're coming in a little bit too much to the left, but in the end, the distance and the strength in our shot is absolutely perfect for us here, so we do stay close to the pin, get that birdie. This is going to be a tough par 3 to make an hole-in-one on, but the only thing to have in mind here is that we do stay away from letting the ball bounce too far, so really pay attention to it. And also something that I almost forgot to say is that you need to add 20% to your adjustment. And 20% to your adjustment is because we're playing downhill. So, okay, and now we're going to have a very tough wind when it comes to this short par 4. This is hole number 7 and one of the Santa Ventura holes. Our opponent here is going to play straightforward. We are going to try a different way. The reason I'm trying that way is to try to show you all that there is a way to play a tougher drive, but should be rewarding if we do get it to fairway. So when playing straightforward, have in mind that you need to get past the trees there. You cannot stay where our opponent is, because that is not going to be a good way to get the eagle here. With some type of tailwind, or might even crosswind from second tee, then you can play directly to bouncing on that fairway island where we are aiming for now, and get it up to the green. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that after I take this shot. Now I'm going to go max side spin, 2 bars of backspin, trying to go with as much curl as possible with the extra mile level 7, and trying to land this ball just on that fairway island so we can have a decent wedge or a short iron towards the pin. You can see we're coming in a little bit too hot. The drive is in general very, very good, but we roll up there in the rough in the end. But from this position, we do have a sloping green that slopes downhill, so we would be getting a good ball guideline to help us get that wedge in the hole. But in the end, with a rough iron there, we still have a very decent chance to make to make a birdie. Sorry, to make an eagle. You can see here our opponent here is stuck by a tree, stuck behind a tree, and then he needs to do a trick shot and hooks this shot towards the pin and just take the birdie. So if you're going to play straightforward, you need to go as far as possible on that fairway to stay away from the trees on your left. But if we do have tailwind again, use 2 to 4 bars of backspin depending on how strong the wind is going to be. So 5 miles per hour, 2 bars of backspin, 10 miles per hour, 4 bars of backspin, and bounce on that fairway island over the bunker and let that ball slide nicely down so you do get a putt for the eagle. So we'll see what type of wind we're going to get from the game makers for hole number 7. So, and also from this distance, as you can see, it's a rough iron. It's not the hardest rough iron in the world. It's a definite opportunity for us. But that was hole number 7, and let's go to hole number 8. And hole number 8 is going to be the last par 3 that we do have. And in this example, we're going to play from the right side. I do, when I play this shot, I play it from the side the wind is going to be a positive factor for us. So if we're going to have like crosswind left to right, I play left. If we do have crosswind right to left, I play right. And that is because we're going to need that help for the wind. And also, as you can see, on our landing position, it kind of is very sloping down, which means that this bounce is going to be very inconsistent, I will have to say. So especially if we do have wind coming much right to left, then you need to go with 1 or 2 bars of side spin to the right, combined with the general 2 to 4 bars of backspin that is necessary. Our opponent here is going to show another approach, and another approach here is going to be in the middle. He plays with a katana, which has power 2. So if you're going to play here in the middle, then I suggest that you play with a navigator that you maybe have a power, not maybe, but you have power 1, or also playing with a wind 5 ball, which often in those cases reduce the wind very much and also has power 0, which gives you more to adjust with. If you do have a strong tailwind, I wouldn't suggest to play there in the middle, because then you will be stuck in between clubs. With headwind, then it could be absolutely possible. But most common from second tee is going to be either left or right side, because as you can see, being in between clubs is one of the toughest way to adjust for a shot. But with this low wind, definitely the center is absolutely possible to play. So this was hole number 8, part 3 of the Santa Ventura. So let's go to hole number 9, which is also going to be one of the Santa Ventura holes that we're going to end up with. I will have to start with saying that this par 5 is not one of the tougher ones in the tour game, but it's one of the tougher ones. So I rephrase that. It's one of the easier ones to get an eagle on, but it's one of the tougher ones to get an albatross on. So it's kind of a mix in that way, and I would be very, very surprised to see a lot of albatrosses on this one. So the thing that we do want to do first and foremost is to decide, are we going to try to go full blast, to go over the water there and land like our opponent is doing, or are we going to use the bounce? So if we're going to use the bounce, we're just going to bounce there on the fairway island to let our ball slide nicely there to the right. We're going to play here with a Marlin, and a Marlin here in this case is not maybe the best ball to play with. The reason I say that is because we do need some distance for the second shot, but there is a reason why I actually play with a Marlin. I'm going to come back to that later. With this tailwind having no problem for us to bounce there on that platform, giving some curl to the left, and in my opinion here, when we take away a little bit of side spin as we do with a Marlin ball, we do forget to add more curl because we need to counter with the loss of backspin, sorry, the loss of side spin, oh my god, with curl. So now we did end up here, and this is an okay situation, and you can see here now we do have one shot here for our opponent with the Guardian. And the Guardian is definitely the wrong club to play with on this particular hole. I would highly suggest that you play with a Horizon, Big Dog, Cataclysm, or maybe a maxed out Sniper. The reason for that again is because we do need distance. The absolute biggest risk we do take by playing with a club with less power is that we're going to go short on the green or just not reach to the green at all. This is very, very, very close to be short on the green, and the thing that I do mean with being short on the green is that we're going to have to overpower our putt, and that is going to be tough, and tough again. So the thing that we have here is that we do need to overpower our shot, and that is the thing that we do want to stay away from. If we would be having a big dog, we would be gaining around like 12-13 yards first and foremost, and also we do have more topspin. So it is very, very important to pick the right clubs for the holes that you're going to play in the tournament, so you're not having to max overpower an approach shot to the green on a par 5 where you actually don't have to do that in the end. So from this distance, no problem for us to reach with the putt, but again, on this par 5, which is still going to be not an albatross hole, it's going to be an eagle hole, but then we need to play this one in an easy way possible to get that eagle. But this was hole number 9, everyone, for the playthrough for Pro and Expert Division. So check out the video description down below for direct timestamps to the specific hole. So if you don't want to watch like hole 3, then you can just press on hole number 4 or hole number 1 or hole number 9 and watch that one instead. If you do have any questions, please make a comment in the comment section below. Do not forget to hit that thumbs up button, that is much appreciated as well. The video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Play DMX, so good luck in the Voyager Tournament.